Chemistry Practical West African Senior School Examination 2026. Now, remember, the practical chemistry in West African exams is divided into three parts. Number one is titration, acid-base titration, all right? And we have extensively discussed that acid-base titration in our previous video. If you are watching for the first time, this is WAEC TV. You can as well go to YouTube. A complete video of acid-base titration is being uploaded. That is predicted, all right? Predicted as a question you're going to be expecting in your chemistry exams. Secondly is salt analysis. Salt analysis is the second part of your chemistry practical exams, which has extensively been discussed, predicted what you should be expecting in your chemistry practical exams come 20th of this month, 2026. Now, those two practical have been uploaded on my YouTube channel. Look at it here, WAEC TV. Just go there, type salt analysis, chemistry practical 2026 salt analysis by WAEC. The video will pop out and you watch. Now, we now go to the third part of the practical, which this one have to involve what? Test of chemistry. How do you know your chemistry? Now, this one is just based on laboratory practical. Okay, how well you know your laboratory experiment, the experiment being conducted in the laboratory, how well do you know it? Now, in this video, I will not, there are some certain things that you need to know when you are looking at test of chemistry. There is no direct question. Unlike titration that you already know, you will be asked to calculate mole concentration or concentration in moles per dm cube, concentration of in grams per dm cube, and your salt analysis, which you have already been given, you'll be asked to find the observation inference. But this one, there is no direct question on how you can be able to solve your test of chemistry. But there are some questions there are some things that you should know, so that whenever a question comes, you should be able to tackle it effectively. This test of chemistry is one of the simplest question on your exams. Now, what are the things that you need to know when you are preparing for exam that regards to what? That has to do with what? That has to do with test of chemistry. Number one, you must know what is fountain experiment and gases that are used in fountain experiment. So we say one, fountain experiment. Fountain experiment. Fountain experiment gases, we have what? Ammonia used in fountain experiment. His hydrochloric gas. We have what? We have sulfur 4-oxide. So just take note of it. Go and read on fountain experiment. I've told you what you should be expecting. If you know the basis of all these things, then you don't need to panic. Number two is acid-base titration bracket indicator. So you should be able to know the meaning of acid-base titration or acid-base indicator. What are indicators? Just known. Now, in the indicator mostly common, we have methyl orange, methyl red, and also phenolphthalein. Now, you should be able to know if this phenolphthalein is added to this acid, what is the color? Please just take note of it. The color when this indicator are added to acid, and the color when this indicator are added to base. So you should be able to specify the colors. If you have not done that, just go out there, because these are the common questions that you ask. I told you that this test of chemistry is one of the most simplest aspects of practical chemistry. Then you should be able to know the type of acid base, the type of indicator used when you are titrating a weak acid against a strong base, and a strong acid against a weak base. Remember, strong acid against a weak base against a strong acid. They are two different things. Then we also have strong acid, strong base. Which indicator can you use? Please go and study that. Go and study that. Can I use phenolphthalein in strong acid and strong base? Can I use phenolphthalein in strong acid and weak base? Can I use strong phenolphthalein in weak acid against a strong base? So go and study that. It's very, very simple. The next thing you have to know your pH. Your pH. What is the pH of your acid before titration, and the pH of your base before titration, and what is the pH of the end point when acid react with base. At the end, of course, salt and water is formed. What is the pH? Remember, the pH value ranges from 1 to what? 1 to 14, and from 1 to 6 is what? Acidic. And from 8 to 14 is what? Is alkaline or basic. All right, basic. Then 7 is what? Neutral. Now this, a pH of acid before titration is acidic. After titration is neutral. A pH of base before titration is what? Basic. After titration is what? Is neutral. Just take note of it. Now the next one you should be preparing for is standard solution. Standard solution. Now, what is standard solution? A solution of known concentration is called a standard solution. How do you prepare your standard solution? Just take note of it. Just take note of it. The next one is gas is collected by upward delivery. Gas is collected by upward or downward delivery. Upward or downward delivery, or upward and downward displacement of air. So gases collected by this, what are the gases? So just go and read on it. Gases collected by upward and downward delivery. Those are the questions you should be expecting. They are very, very simple. All right. Then the next one you should be expecting more is reagents. Reagent used in this acid-base titration. All right. Now the next one you should be expecting is reagent used in salt analysis. What are the major reagents and what are the confirmatory reagents? All right. Now reagent mostly used, we have sodium hydroxide, more common. We have ammonia, aqueous ammonia, more common. We have barium chloride, more common. Barium chloride, more common. We have silver nitrate, more common. All right, silver nitrate, more common. We have acid. Acid is used for gases. We have HCl. We have HNO3. We have H2SO4, and so on. These acids are used to what? To test for gases. For instance, now a salt contain a carbonated salt, that is sodium carbonate, lead carbonate, all those ones. You'll be asked to put what to add your what? Acid, and which will result to what? Effervescent will occur. Okay, so just go and read on that. And this reagent, most is especially these 4 reagents are mostly used to test for ion. Ion can be positive ion, which is cation. Ion can be negative ion, which is what? Anion. What are the ions being used? For instance, sodium hydroxide and ammonia. Go and look for chlorine test. Chlorine test is mostly, anytime you see silver nitrate is used for what? Test for what? Chlorine. We have copper ion, which you have blue color, and we have light blue and deep blue. Light blue is normally when you test with sodium hydroxide, it will give you a light blue color, and the precipitate will not dissolve. But when you test with aqueous ammonia, the color will now be what? Deep blue, and the precipitate will dissolve. We have iron 2, which is what? Dirty green. All right, this one is dirty green in color, which if you use this both reagent, it will give you dirty green. They will also have iron 3. Iron 3 is what? Is brown in color. All right, these are the tests. We also have aluminum ion. We have zinc ion. Zinc ion and aluminum ion are amphoteric in nature, means that the outside of it have what? Amphoteric. So the test mostly used is you use aqueous sodium hydroxide and ammonia. If you use aqueous sodium hydroxide in aluminum ion, what you're going to see is that this one, both of them will form a white gelatinous precipitate, but this one, in drops of it, in excess of this sodium hydroxide, aluminum will dissolve. But if excess of this sodium hydroxide is added to zinc ion, it will not dissolve unless you use what? You use aqueous ammonia. Do you get that? So aqueous ammonia dissolve what? Dissolve in what? In zinc ion. Do you understand? Even lead ion can, you can use these two tests, which that is what we are given in exams. You can use these two tests. Now when you add sodium hydroxide to this lead ion, in drops a white precipitate is formed. In drop a white precipitate is formed. Now in excess, now the precipitate will dissolve. The precipitate will dissolve, that it will be soluble. But when you add aqueous ammonia in this a compound containing lead, what you are going to see is white gelatinous. This one, when you add sodium hydroxide, is not gelatinous, it's chalky. But when you add aqueous ammonia, it will what? White gelatinous, like aluminium and zinc. Do you get that? Then when you now add in excess, it will not dissolve. That is to confirm lead. But the confirmatory test for this lead is mostly potassium iodide, or we have potassium permanganate. So these are the tests for what? For confirmatory tests for most of these ions. Okay, now these are what you should be expecting. Then the next one is separation, a separation technique. Okay, go and read on your separation, more especially substance when two miscible liquid, how do you separate them? Is two miscible liquid of wide boiling point and close boiling point. What do you use in separating them is very, very important. Decantation, how do you use to separate it? Then the next one you can always know is how to balance your chemical equation. If you know how to balance your chemical equation, they can ask you a substance A react with this also thing. When test with this kind of thing, it produces what? So you balancing your chemical equation, you should be able to know your chemical substance, all right, what is formed, and by then you know what is this. Now another one is this barium chloride. What is it used to test for? They mostly use this barium chloride for what? For sulfate ion. All right, if you want to test for sulfate, of course it produces a white precipitate. So just go and know this reagent, what are they used to what? To test. By the time you know that, it is very, very simple. Then you now know all what I've just said here. Gases collected using downward displacement, upward displacement, no acid-base indicator, and also know your laboratory equipment such as what? Your burette. Why is it not advisable for you to take your burette reading under? All right, you have to stand straight to take your burette reading. They are all laboratory tests that they can ask you. All right, then your precaution also. Your beaker, what do they use beaker for? What is your burette? What do they use burette for? Those are the things that you will likely see in your test of chemistry. It's one of the most simplest aspects of chemistry. Now, for more of this video, do well to like, share, and importantly, comment. God bless you.